Welcome back to a new episode on the Interviews Best. My special guest today is Nicole. Nicole, please introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. I'm Nicole Anderson. I am a project manager at Edwin. I run a few businesses on the side. I'm a mom of two, and I'm from the Leamington area, but currently live in Tecumseh.
Awesome. So let's start with your education journey. What influenced you to pursue a bachelor's in business administration?
All right. So when I was in high school, I didn't know what I should be doing. I took all of the sciences and the maths just to make sure I kept all of my options open, but I wasn't sure what to do in post-secondary. And we have a family business. So I decided the best way that I can help support the family business, our family business is an engineering firm. They primarily work in greenhouse automation. I knew I wasn't going to be an engineer, so I decided to study the business end and did a bachelor's of business administration at Brock University. And I selected Brock because they had a really good co-op program. And I wanted to go away to school, just change things up a little bit. And then when I graduated, I still felt like I wanted to progress my education. So I went directly into an MBA at Ryerson University in Toronto.
Awesome. And why did you choose Ryerson specifically for an MBA?
Well, I wanted to figure out which MBA program fit my needs at the time. So I wanted something short, and their MBA program was 14 months. I wanted a program that allowed me to study directly out of my undergraduate degree, and not a lot of them did at the time. I know now they do, but over 10 years ago, not a lot of them allowed you to come straight from your undergrad. So I was able to do that, and I wanted to live in Toronto for a year. So it ended up working out really well.
Oh, fantastic. And what are some experiences which you were exposed to in your MBA program, which kind of helped you afterwards in your career?
What I really enjoyed about that MBA program specifically, because I was coming straight out of my undergrad, I think I was the only person in that cohort that came directly from an undergrad. Everybody else had working experience. Everybody else was out in the workforce at least 5 years at minimum. Some came back after 20 years working. So I was able to get a lot of their experiences that I wouldn't have gotten otherwise. So if let's say you want to do an MBA, you might choose to do one right out of undergrad. I would suggest going somewhere where your colleagues might be a little bit more experienced than you, so you can kind of absorb that knowledge from them. Or you could go out and work a few years and then come back to the classroom, because I think that the experiences that you're going to absorb from your working world, your career life, will help you tremendously in your MBA.
Awesome. And did you have any internships during your bachelor's and master's?
During my undergraduate degree, I did an internship at the Bank of Montreal. They had a leadership program for undergrad students. So it was a summer program, and I did that for, I think it was 3 summers, and it was in commercial banking, it was a lot of fun. And then in my MBA, we did a final term as an internship. So I got to work in the office of the provost at Ryerson University, where we started the DMZ, which is the Entrepreneurship Center and Accelerator at Ryerson, one of the best ones in the world now. So I got to kind of watch from behind as they begin their amazing journey in becoming just the best accelerator.
Oh, that's awesome. And what was your first job position, like first official job position after you graduate from your MBA program?
Well, after the MBA, I came home to work in the family business. So I was in human resources there, manager of HR and marketing. So that one I had directly after, but realistically, I'd always been working in the family business since I was, old enough to answer a phone. I was the receptionist at that company. So when I came home, I went back into the company and started working there. But I saw the University of Windsor had posted a 6-month part-time contract in it was the Center for Enterprise and Law, which is now had rolled into various iterations, but now part of it became the Epicenter. So at the Center for Enterprise and Law, they had posted this 6-month part-time contract. And I decided to apply to it because I eventually wanted to teach at the university because I was able to teach at Ryerson as a graduate assistant. So I wanted to get my foot back into the door here at the University of Windsor. And I would say that outside of my family business, that position at the Center for Enterprise and Law was my very first actual position after my MBA.
Oh, that's awesome. And I remember reading on your LinkedIn profile that you're actually the co-founder of Epicenter. So
Hmm.
how was your journey with it, like founding it and, going through the early stages of founding a business?
Well, the Epicenter was, I co-founded it with three other women from the University of Windsor, Dr. Francine Schlosser, Myra Tofik, and, sorry, Dr. Francine Schlosser, Heather Pratt, and Wen Teo. Myra Tofik did have a hand in the IP and the legal portion of the Epicenter as well. So the four of us started the Epicenter. It, like I said, it kind of was an iteration of various entrepreneurial activities happening in the University of Windsor. The president at the time, Dr. Alan Wildeman, really wanted a central entrepreneurship center that could be accessed from all of the faculties at the university, which I thought was a fantastic idea. And so he had tasked the business school and the Office of Research to start this journey together. So they brought on external help. Roy Verstraete, a wonderful leader in the community, came on as well to kind of help with that business planning in the initial stages. And we got to start an accelerator with funding from the university as well as funding from the provincial government to help support students in early stages of just understanding what entrepreneurship was, all the way to helping fund their businesses through some small seed grants for their business.
Awesome. And
So that was really, really fun. Yeah.
awesome. And how is it like working with students to help them basically take their ideas in and developing it into an actual business model?
It was incredibly fun. We had a great time because the students have such amazing ideas coming from the different faculties. So three of the, actually, I think all of the co-founders of the Epicenter, we went down to Stanford and we got to learn the lean startup methodology, which is the way that entrepreneurs are taught down in Silicon Valley. So we brought that knowledge and that business model up here to the Epicenter. We were able to help the students kind of validate their ideas and then be able to bring them to market when the time was right for their specific businesses. So we had students come into the Epicenter from ideation, from just the thought of potentially having something that they could sell, all the way, like I said, to actually being able to sell the business. And I thought it was really fun to help the students because they had different ideas coming from different faculties. We had students working with one another. We had students from engineering working with computer science, students working with business students. These multidisciplinary teams really were very successful, and it was really nice to watch the synergies that they created through their backgrounds.
Oh, that's great. And I also remember that you actually have founded your own business, your own consulting business called Nicole Anderson Consulting. So what influenced you to start that?
So the consulting business was something, and that I still do actually on the side, and it's just where I help small businesses and entrepreneurs kind of get to the level they need to in their businesses, whether it's strategic planning, or I do some HR and marketing consulting on the side. It's just something that I really enjoy doing. So I figured, let's start a business and take on clients as I can, as time permits. But I did found an actual business. My husband and I started Ignite Health, which is a health clinic out in Tecumseh. Started that in 2020, which is which was a hard year to start, but we had been planning it in 2019 for a whole year, and unfortunately, just timing wise, the pandemic didn't really help with the launch, but now it's doing very well, luckily. And so starting that business as well as my consulting business, but really takes up a lot of time, but is something that I truly enjoy.
Awesome. And what were some challenges which you have faced when starting your Ignite Health business?
I think the timing, like I said, I mean, we had purchased or we started to um, renovate the space, right? Our business is a multidisciplinary health facility. And so we've got different practitioners under one roof. So we had a lot of renovating to do in the actual space. We decided to do that in 2019, thinking that we would start in January of 2020. And so working through all that, it kind of delayed us to March 2020. And then the pandemic hit. So the pandemic really, the timing of the pandemic was probably the biggest stressor for our business, because we had to close. We were under strict restrictions when it came to all of the lockdowns, specifically because our business has a small group training gym, and gyms, notoriously were locked down for 2 years pretty much. So I would say that was the biggest challenge, just the unknown. And I guess in any business, that's really what the challenge is. You plan as much as you can plan. You can plan 5-10 years to do something, but something can come out of left field and change the way that you operate. And so learning, and I hate to use the word to pivot, but learning to pivot and face these challenges and not say, I guess at first, the first lockdown, we said, okay, we'll just wait this one out. It can't last forever. And then after the second and the third, you really had to think about, how we're going to change this business model and how, what our breaking point would be. Would we close the gym if we lock down one more time? Would we go in totally virtually? Would we change our whole business model? So I guess the challenge for us was the fear of the unknown kind of came true, right? We had no idea that these lockdowns were going to happen and when they were going to end. So
Yeah, for sure. That's for sure a challenge. So how was it like working with other healthcare professionals and I would say fitness enthusiasts, coming from a non-healthcare field. So how was it like working with them and ensuring that your business is actually striving towards success?
So one thing that make note, my husband really runs that business on the health side. So he is a chiropractor. He went to chiropractic school. And so he knows, the healthcare side of things. Plus he was a personal trainer years ago. That's actually how we met. But I would say 15-ish years ago, he was a personal trainer. He was a senior personal trainer at a gym. So he knew that background. Plus, again, being a chiropractor, he knows like the health, that type of health space. So he works directly with the practitioners. And I would suggest no matter what business that you're in, you want to have someone on the leadership team who knows that space very well. So personally, for instance, I wouldn't start, let's say, an engineering firm myself because I'm not an engineer. It would be difficult for me to be able to, speak the language of an engineer, understand what their needs, etc. However, I might bring in a co-founder who is an engineer. And this is something that we taught at the Epicenter. If you are starting a business that's outside of your knowledge, outside of your comfort zone, then bring somebody in, whether it's a partner, doesn't have to be a majority stake partner. It could be, a partner with less equity, but bringing somebody in who has the experience of the type of business that you want to run will be incredibly important because you don't want to be outsourcing everything. So for our business, I do a lot of the strategic planning with my husband, do some of the marketing with him and the HR because that is what I'm good at. And that's, what I know. And he runs the health portion of it because he is a healthcare practitioner.
Awesome. Yeah, for sure. That's a very important factor of starting any business. Um, all right. Coming to your most recent position at Enwin. So how
Mhm.
did you land that position? What were the like the strategies you followed? How did you benefit from your previous experience towards this role?
Thank you. I really am enjoying my time with Enwin. So I started out, I had applied to Enwin in a position that reported directly to our CEO at the time, Helga Rydell. She was somebody that I'd seen in the community, that I'd kind of watched her career progress in the community, somebody I knew I wanted to learn from. And I decided, and at the time, I was kind of in a weird time in my career where I wanted to do something a little different. I didn't necessarily know what I wanted to do. So I hired a career coach who's like a therapist, but for your career. She was wonderful. And she kind of helped me determine what my next career path would be. Because I felt like in the entrepreneurial sector, I reached the level that I wanted to reach in entrepreneurship in the local community. And I figured I wanted to, start something new. Pardon me, I'm just going to cough.
Yeah, sure.
And so my career coach had told me, perhaps it's not the industry you want to work in, perhaps it's the learning opportunities that you want to take from your next job. So I decided to find somebody I really wanted to work for and be able to learn from them. And when a position opened up that reported directly to Helga, I applied to it right away. I was lucky enough to get the position where I got to work with her for a year and a half, understanding how she leads the organization, just essentially, I was a sponge. Everything she said, I was trying to gain the knowledge that I possibly could before she retired. As she came on to retirement, our unregulated affiliate, meaning our sister company that is outside of the hydro business, that can start businesses within itself, they started growing quickly, and a position opened up where I could work for an unregulated affiliate. It's called Enwin Energy. A position opened up within Enwin Energy, and I was able to transition over to Enwin Energy, where I have the privilege of actually starting business, being an entrepreneur within Enwin Energy and getting to start businesses, apply for funding, and doing really cool things for Enwin. So, and that's how I got into that position I have obviously the background of entrepreneurship. So when I transitioned into that role, it was a really easy transition for me, and I think for the company as well.
Awesome. That's very inspiring. What are some duties that you do on a day-to-day basis at your current position with N1?
In my current position, I'm constantly looking for opportunities for the company. I work directly under our VP of Business Development, Chris Taylor. He's wonderful. I'm learning a lot from him as well. And so it's the responsibility of Enwin Energy to, like I said, find new opportunities, essentially just make money through different revenue streams for the company. And so right now, some major things that I'm working on different avenues for different revenue streams. So for instance, we're starting new businesses, very top secret, so I can't really talk about them until they're launched, but starting new businesses right now. So looking at everything that relates to starting a new business. Me specifically, again, my background is HR, marketing, kind of the soft skills. So looking at those aspects of the business, that's pretty much what I'm doing on a day-to-day, is looking at how I can start and how I can support the new businesses coming through Enwin Energy.
Awesome. Reflecting back on your experiences, what are some advices you would like to give to high school students and university?
I would say, opportunities come up and they might not be ideal for you, but look at how they may benefit you in the long run. Always look at the long game. What do you want out of a specific career? So for instance, with the University of Windsor, I wanted to teach. That was, when I came back home, I decided I really want to teach. How am I going to do that? I need to get my foot in the door at the university. So I took a random 6-month part-time contract with the Center for Enterprise and Law. And that eventually evolved into me actually I was a full-time academic ancillary staff, which meant that I got to teach full-time for 5 years and work on Epicenter. So I wasn't a sessional instructor, but I was full-time teaching at the university. But I only got that position because I started out 7 years prior in the Center for Enterprise and Law, kind of proved myself, taught sessionally at Fanshawe at Western University, and then was offered a position as a academic ancillary staff with Odette. So it might not be, going into a position, especially as you graduate, you need to decide what you want to do and what are the career steps to get there. So let's say you graduate, you do an undergrad, and then you go directly into your MBA, and let's say you specialize in marketing. Well, if you've done your undergrad and then an MBA directly after, you probably are not going to get a director of marketing position right out of school. Probably because you don't have the working experience required to have it, right? Because you've just done your education. But how are you going to get to a director of marketing position? What companies offer that type of position? So you might see, let's say the city of Windsor has a director of marketing position. Well, you're not going to apply for that position out of university. You're going to apply to maybe some lower level positions that can get you to that job, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
So look at your long game, look at where you want to end up, and then figure out the path to get there. Also, another piece of advice would be to find some mentors, whether they are people that you've worked with in the past, whether they're people that you admire. Maybe reach out to them and ask them if you could take them for coffee, pick their brain about, your career path, and just get some advice from them on what will make you successful in your career.
fantastic. And having had several internships with a bank, specifically BMO Bank, have you thought of a career in the banking industry?
Um, you know what? I haven't thought about that. I didn't think about going back. Not that I didn't enjoy it, but it wasn't where I wanted to be. I wanted, after university, I guess I could have gone back to the Bank of Montreal. I was able to work as a customer service representative for a while during my university career, which helped me save some money and pay off my school. But it wasn't where I wanted to be. Again, perhaps this is something to think about as well. What type of company do you want to work for? Because there are some companies that are wonderful, like for instance, the Bank of Montreal, where there are a lot of different positions you can take. You can move, your way to the top. But there are other companies that are a little bit more agile, where you can, they're not as strict in terms of policies and procedures, and you can be a little bit more flexible in how you do your work. You can be like entrepreneurial, let's say, in your career. So that's something that I enjoy in my job. And I don't know, I don't know if there is that option at the Bank of Montreal, but I don't know if I would go back. Perhaps if the right opportunity presented itself, but as of now, I'm really enjoying what I'm doing. So
Fantastic. Yeah, yeah, perfect. Thank you so much for sharing your inspiring journey with us, and thank you for being a guest speaker on my channel.
thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you.